Prayer. I shall presume to discuss the general lines of the meaning of prayer and the essence of prayer in this system of Sri Ramchandra's Raja Yoga. We all know that prayer has been the most efficacious way by which one could approach God, and it is invaluable in the ordinary practice of all religions. There are all sorts of prayers, all kinds of prayers, and these prayers of all sorts and kinds are admitted as valid by several religions. Therefore, in our ordinary life, we are expected to pray even for the material things of this world, as well as for the fulfillment of our very cherished desires. We are also sometimes praying for establishment of dharma in this world and prevailing of the righteous conduct over unrighteous conduct. Lastly, there are prayers for the ultimate emancipation of man from the bondages of this world. These four kinds of prayers may be said to be of the Artha, Kama, Dharma and the Moksha varieties in the technical language of our country. In all religions, people do pray. The second question which usually crops up is to whom are we to pray for these benefits? Normally, any man of discernment would ask a man who can give wealth to give wealth. Ask one who can grant your desires to give your desires. Ask one who can protect dharma to protect dharma. And ask him who can grant liberation for liberation. This discernment is very evident in our country, especially in Hinduism. Therefore, we have had gods of wealth to whom we have prayed, gods of Kama to whom we have prayed, gods or protectors of Dharma to whom we have appealed, and gods who can grant liberation. So long as those four people were distinguished, there are four ultimate gods for these four purposes. For the concept of one God began to develop, but the concept of one God began to develop in our minds. And we thought that Artha, which is wealth or power, which is got from any God, if he is not capable of producing dharma or liberation, is self-defeating and capable of causing misery. So also if you ask for desires which will not promote dharma or emancipation, we are in pretty great difficulties of misery. Similarly, when dharma has been asked for without its capacity to give you moksha as freedom, well, we said it is not worthwhile. So I'll take a pause here. So anything?
Yeah.
If nothing, I'll go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, it became important that liberation should be the ultimate thing to determine our choice of artha or choice of kama or choice of dharma. Naturally, then, we wanted the person who can give us ultimate liberation to be in charge of the three other portfolios in life. And so we wanted one God to whom we shall appeal to give us freedom whilst granting us wealth, give us freedom whilst granting our desires, and to give us freedom whilst granting our dharma or preservation of righteousness. That is why the idea of one God to whom we can go and ask for these things became very dominant. We passed then from what is called polytheism to monotheism. The concept of one God who can give all the four, regulated by the fundamental principle of liberation, became, I think, the cardinal principle of our own Hindu religion and tradition. Now, there are many institutions and men who can cater to these things by appealing to the one God. But what happens is, in life, that the ultimate motive for liberation seems to get dimmed as men, even when they go to that one God, or anxious to ask for the lower, but not for the higher also. That is why one of the great dictums of our great saint was, "Seek ye the kingdom of God first, and all things shall be added unto you." So, firstly, seek the kingdom of freedom, moksha. Then you will find that every other thing will naturally follow from it, namely righteous wealth and righteous power, righteous enjoyment of love and desire, righteous enjoyment of dharma, God, in this universe. So, firstly, it became incumbent on us to seek the ultimate being. That is why, whenever we go to a God, we ask for the ultimate reality of freedom or moksha, and then we are sure the other things would follow. So, if no questions, I'll proceed.
Yeah.
There have been, of course, some people who, in their anxiety to promote only liberation, have asked us to deny the other three things and say, "I want only liberation." I do not say that it is wrong. All that I say is that they want us as a practical expedient process, denying the lower so that they can show their anxiety to get the higher. In many cases, as I may put it, it appears to me that it savors of a kind of mental hypocrisy, and therefore I would rather have a definite frankness with the divine in asking for liberation. A liberation that includes everything rather than excluding everything. Because ultimately we know that there is a sense of liberation when we experience the fulfillment of legitimate desires, a sense of freedom when we get legitimate order or government.
No, there is you missed some sentence actually.
Yeah, when we experience the fulfillment of legitimate desires, sense of
No.
freedom when we get legitimate order or government.
No.
Yeah.
There is a liberation that includes everything rather than excluding everything. Because ultimately we know that there is a sense of liberation when we get a little moderate wealth, a sense of liberation when we experience the fulfillment of legitimate desires. You missed that moderate wealth.
Okay, I think it
A
got.
sense of freedom when we get legitimate order or government. Excessive government is always dangerous. I will carry on from here.
Yes.
So I got a book in front of me with bigger print. And therefore, dharma may be an excessive government. Excessive government is always dangerous, and therefore, dharma may be an excessive government. So we want liberation in government as we want liberation really ultimately. That gives us what is called a graduated growth of expansion of our consciousness when we feel that we are growing in freedom rather than growing in bondage. Obviously, you will realize how the second one is self-contradicting proposition, growing in bondage. So we want to grow in freedom, and the sense of freedom should inform us. And if we ask God to help us, it is because the techniques of the lower thrives, namely a political power, an economic power, or any other hedonistic power, or even excessive police power or police government, cannot promote freedom along with granting of these things. In this conviction, the great people of the past thought of God as the ultimate being who can grant us freedom on all the levels without giving up the ultimate freedom to which we ought to go and aspire for. So ultimately then, our goal is getting the ultimate liberation, because all of us are having a life in terminable condition which ends. All of us die. and we want freedom from this. We are afraid of the future, as a matter of fact, and we want to be assured that we will not be once again turned into the world of bondage, that we will not be returned to this bondage. So we want freedom also of that level after death. A feeling of freedom now and a feeling of freedom hereafter. This seems to be the natural goal of the Vedic Rishi, who said that Nanya Pantha Ayannaya Vidyate. There is no other path except total surrender to the ultimate being. And who also said you will experience that freedom even here. Ihaiva Bhavati. So this is an ancient aspiration which we have held very dear during the ages. Any questions or anything? This is a beautiful article which all of us should think deeply.
Yes.
In our Sri Ramchandra's Raj Yoga, we are taking up this concept in its very practical form. Now our prayers, as I told you, have been of all sorts and kinds. So to whom shall we address ourselves? Kasmai Devaya Havisha Videma, as the great Veda said it, to which God shall I offer my oblation, myself and my prayers? And it answers the Supreme Being, the Purusha. The Supreme Being, one who purifies you, one who exalts you, one who makes you one with himself while sacrificing himself to you, dedicating himself for your emancipation. The one goal of God seems to me, just as my one goal is, that he should lean himself to me, just as I yearn towards him, that is all. This is the great meaning of the Purusha Sukta. So in our system, which is natural to a divine man or one who seeks the divine light, we firstly offer prayers to the ultimate being with the one wish that we should be gradually taken to that condition or divine life. Therefore, our prayer, which has come to my master Sri Ramchandraji from above, as he told me, and also given in the language in which it has come, in English, is very significant and very helpful. It is simple. It says, I shall repeat the prayer for your reference. O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of wishes, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. This prayer, which was given to Master, which is being used by every one of the Abhyasis before he starts his meditation, puts in a nutshell the essential ingredients of a prayer. I do not want to compare this prayer with other prayers. Forgive me if I don't, but I shall explain this. This shows that the divine is the master, is the guru, and he is the goal which you must attain. The goal, of course, is that state of being. It is a state of being. It is a condition, actually. It is not any name or form particularly, because God is very subtle. He is present everywhere since the beginning of time. There is no birth and death for that. So if you put a name and a form and say he is God, then you're restricting it. So it's a state of being. It's a condition on your mind, actually. Or to put it more frankly, it's a condition of the mind when the mind first came out after the first kshobh. So that is the guru, actually. The goal, of course, is that state of being. It is not to get his form, but to get that state of being that gives you the essence of an existence and also meaning to your existence. This is important, I feel. People should get this idea. This shows that the divine is the master, is the guru, and he is the goal which you must attain. The goal, of course, is that state of being. It is not to get his form, but to get that state of being that gives you the essence of an existence and also meaning to your existence. I do not know how many of you have a sense of existence in you. Suppose I ask, will you please tell me, do you exist? Most of you exist because of your office or because of your property or because of something else. What is the meaning of the words I am? Actually, the whole problem is the Babuji keeps on repeating these words that it's very simple. Simplicity itself is a hindrance to realize its true nature. Suppose we just relaxed and close your eyes and try to know who you are. You get that sense of being actually. And that sense of being actually is not separate from God. And as you meditate, the sense of being actually merges with God. And that is the goal actually. What is the meaning of the words I am? All of us know that we depend on other things and we ourselves are nothing. And by ourselves are nothing. So why are we restless? Because we are trying to be, and in trying to be, we are not being ourselves. I am not playing with words. I want you to see the full meaning of what I am saying. The sense of being is very important because none of you has the sense of being, but only of not being. So you want this, you want that, and you want the other. And if you get that, you think that you are yet less than others because you measure the quantum of property you have, the quantum of power that you have. Where is the sense of being? That is why we are restless. We have no sense of being, but we are asking for being. And we are moving in the wrong directions. We ask for wealth. We run after power, run after certain desires, thinking that by getting those desires, we be. Of course, I leave it to you to find out the instances for yourselves. And then everything is chaos. And we are not having any sense of being in this world, or everything is insecure, in a state where everything is going away, slipping out of our grasp. What we hold, we lose. Now, all this shows that we have no sense of being. And that is why we must get the sense of being. And we are struggling for it. And this the master can give. Because the ultimate reality is, in a sense, the being, of which all these are non-being. This is highly metaphysically loaded, but if you contemplate, you can get that condition actually, because we are all trained meditators. We can easily move into that condition, what is being described. Why do I want God? Just because he can give me this sense of being. And he who cannot give this sense of being, but urges us on to another thing, a farther thing, is only a transition and not being and not God. That is why the ancient scriptures in our country stated, God is existence, and to know him is Satya. Satya. One who creates the sense of being in you is God. That is truth. That is why the Sanskriti is very nice when it uses the word Satya. Ya is the krit suffix, making Sat, which makes Sat, makes you exist, is God. So the ultimate is Sat, is reality. Firstly, we must earn the sense of reality of being, and that is the goal to which we are moving. And now this sense of being, therefore, firstly announces the essence of our prayer. The goal of my being, of my existence, of my life is being. Why is a man restless? Why is he always discontented? Man is discontented because he feels that he is lacking something. And so he believes that if he gets wealth, or he gets sensual pleasures, or if he gets good relationships, or, he escapes from death or whatever, he gets freedom from. So if he feels that he's somehow incomplete, and if he gets wealth or power or health, he'll become complete, and he will regain the sense of being. So he searches to gain his fulfillment in desires and kama, artha, and dharma actually. So, but then that is like chasing a mirage. So he will always remain discontent because you cannot gain the infinity in finite things. You cannot gain happiness in things which are changing, which are finite, I mean, in the body or power or, wealth or, nothing happens. All the greatest emperors and kings have died. All the famous That's why Babuji said, if you imagine the palaces or forts where kings lived in those marvelous buildings with all royal finery, gold, emeralds, and jewels, you will get a sense of Viveka and Vairagya if you just contemplate the old forts which have become dilapidated now. So, that's why if you read the 10th commandment, Babuji says that repent for the wrongs done, beg forgiveness in a supplicant mode, resolving not to allow repetition of the same. So he says, in order to be in the continuous consciousness of God, so that his attention is always on you, he says you resort to repeated prayers to the God or to the master, asking him to grant us a state of contentment. So if you get contentment, your sense of being becomes established. So that is realization. So these articles have to be meditated upon so that it will help in your meditation properly. Anything, Vivek? We'll stop here. We will.
Yeah, I think logically we can then start the next Sunday.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So this is just want to talk a little bit about this. He says that what is the meaning of word I am? So is it? But Master has told us to meditate on divine light without luminosity.
Yeah.
So we meditate on that to realize our nature, whatever.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That is what the mandate has been given to all of us.
That's right.
So is that preliminary thought of divine light without luminosity same as this I am, or?
No. If you actually probe yourself, you investigate yourself and try to find the answer for the question, who you are, you will come to, like now I'm sitting, who you are means I'm just aware of my body and aware of my thoughts, that's all. Actually, there is the feeling that there is a person behind this awareness is the ego actually, which is a very powerful, irresistible illusion all of us have actually. And that is a cause for discontentment. Actually, that's not the truth. The truth is what you feel when you investigate about who you are. You only feel certain thoughts, certain feelings, and sensations in your body. And that is actually a manifestation of God only. That itself is God actually. So, but then your mind believes that there's a separate self in you, which is independent and which gives you perspective. Like suppose I am talking, I feel that I'm separate from Atul Mishra because so that duality is because of a perspective. I feel that perspective is felt because of the sense of ego. So that ego is not yourself. The ego when it dissolves, whatever state of mind you have, that is your real sense of being. That is why if you carefully study Master's work, he says, when you are meditating, don't think that you are meditating, think that Master is meditating. We are taking breakfast, think that Master is doing. So that universal energy is actually the being. But we have a very powerful sense of identity, which logically now all philosophers, all cognitive scientists, phenomenologists, neuroscientists, they all know that there is no neuroscience. If you dissect the brain with a lot of research now, there is no one location which can say where your identity is sitting there. There's no such thing there. But we have a very powerful feeling that that I am the doer. And we pose ourselves as doer. We feel that you're separate from nature. We are working against nature. Actually, we are part of nature. But that sense of being means you're actually God only. That's all. So that sense of being is given by the master actually. If you pray to him, he will grant you that. And once you get that sense of being, you're realized, you are liberated. You'll not be again born into this bondage because there's too much of suffering in this world. Death, disease, discontentment, desires are not fulfilled. Even if they're fulfilled, you're not contented. You want desires shift the gears and then you move into other planes. While searching for the desires, you create so many complications. Evil and misery will come along with you. So unless you get that sense of being, you'll never be peaceful actually. So I am boleto, if you really see, there is no, actually, if you sincerely investigate yourself, who am I, you will not find anything which you can call it as Atul Mishra. That is a conceptual existence. You will only find some cells and some thoughts and feelings, that's all. There is no Atul Mishra existing there. It's just like the famous Buddhist argument of chariot. The famous discussion is there, no? King Milinda talks to, Nagasena. He says, chariot is there. Suppose is all the parts chariot. He says, suppose I remove the parts, the chariot disappears, or rearrange the parts. So chariot is a concept when particular parts, but it is not different. But chariot is not different from all the parts put together in a certain way. So chariot is a conventional term to interact, to tell you that, this is a social language which helps us do our transactions, but it's not the reality. Reality is only your thoughts and feelings and your inseparable nature with you. You're part of nature. If you don't breathe oxygen, you cannot survive. You're very closely, intimately connected with oxygen, water, and food, and the sunshine and all that. If you cannot live out of this. The fish cannot live outside the water. In the same way, you can imagine that we are in this whole universe of which we are intimately a part of the whole universe. You are not against universe. Whereas the ego or the sense of doership, which comes with ego, you feel that you are against the universe. So you get upset when somebody praises you or blames you or whatever. So if this doership is gone, then you regain the sense of being actually. That is the answer for who I am actually. You realize that you are none other than the master itself. You get those ideas when you read him thoroughly, read his letters and all that. Nay, you yourself are that for which you are craving. That comes, efficacy of Raj Yoga keeps on telling. You're meditating for God, but then you reach a stage where you yourself are that for which you are searching, he says. So it comes from deeper contemplation. You have to contemplate deeper your experiences. You investigate your experiences more deeper way, then you will be able to understand. I hope I answered your question, but
Yes.
But even we know all this is temporary. We are going to die, and then this property is meaningless, and then this name and fame is meaningless. But still we experience the world, and then we truly believe that this gives us, that is the power of that illusion. That's why Lord Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratya, is very seductive and highly seduces you to believe that you are separate from God. When this feeling vanishes during meditation, when you surrender to God, and when the surrender is accepted, then this feeling goes away. Then you regain the sense of being. Then you are always contented. You're free from misery, you're liberated actually. So people read books and all that in diaries, like that I feel craving to merge in God, and then I feel that, the mind actually dilutes in themselves into thinking that, but that's why yesterday Zoom meeting, I was talking about intellectual honesty. If you honestly assess yourself, you'll know. And if you read Ishwar Sahai's article on surrender and all that, that explains beautifully how you have to practice actually. It is doable. It is perfectly possible for people to achieve a sense of negation of their doership actually. That is where Babuji in 73 message, he says that forms a base for further approaches, he says. That is the first step in his scheme of spirituality. When the senses become summarized and when you feel the thought of the master oozing out from objects everywhere, then he says, then the mind, to a large extent, the sense of ego is gone there. And they're in a state of bliss. I mean, that is where the shadowy darkness comes. That is where, you lose your tendency for resentment and ill will against other people. The 7th commandment and 6th commandment, they become established. You will not have any ill will against people. You will not be revengeful. Take them with, be not revengeful for the wrongs done by others. Take them with gratitude as heavenly gifts. So he says this advice has been given without giving the philosophy behind it. I can explain every sentence, requires huge explanation. But this has been given so that feelings of resentment do not arise in you. So you can, in your diary, you can note whether you are having resentment against anybody in this world, any political figure or any historical personality whom you come across and all that, because then you understand how your mind is transforming it. I don't know whether I answered your question, Atul.
No, yeah, I got it. Basically, I am gets normally hidden away by ego. Ego takes.
Normally, I means we identify ourselves with our thoughts and feelings. Suppose I get headache, so I am getting headache, but headache is just a sensation. It is under particular circumstances that painful feeling, that feeling. You're using the word language pain, but that's a feeling which comes and goes away. It's just like a cloud which appears and changes shape and goes away. But then you feel that it is yours, and then that is the importance of practicing, treating everything as a uninvited guest. You become a neutral observer. You don't identify with them, neither you fight with them. Even if you react to them, you are giving power to those thoughts. So that's why Babuji, in one of his letters, he advises people to say, you treat, like if any troublesome thought comes and then you hate yourself for that thought which you feel is wrong for you to have those thoughts, and then you immediately try to collect some other thought too, so that you don't want such thoughts to linger in your mind. He says you treat them like a friend. He says they'll lose their power and go away. So that skill you have to master actually. You should not treat any feeling or emotion or thought belongs to you. You can accept it as a gift from God. Think that they're God's thoughts or master's thoughts. Then you're not giving any power to any of them. Then all the samskaras will get emptied very quickly. And then the mind becomes plain and simple. I mean, the 4th commandment will come into, you will be living within your own self. You will be, drowned in your own self, and then you'll be in bliss continuously. So correct practice is more important.
Actually, in the last article also, what we read, Vardachari ji, he says at one place that, like I was also, we were discussing it last time, you were not there. A new definition of manas came up. He said it is manas which is abiding at all levels of existence. So essentially, the material out of which you, me, everybody who is created, we all are created. We have the same material in us.
Yeah,
we are created out of the same material.
Yeah, this is a recurrent theme of Babuji. If you read the second commandment or the fourth commandment, he says, Shob is the first mind of God, and that has created all things. Now, you and myself, the atoms which compose our bodies and the thoughts which are composed of very subtle matter, sattva, raja, and tamo, substances which are part of Prakriti, they're all same origin, which is the first mind of God. And that's why he says, like in 8th commandment, he says, be happy to eat in constant divine thought, whatever you get, with due regard to honest and pious. And he says it begins with materiality, but ends in the final state we have to achieve. And he says happiness is the state, which is the final state we have to arrive. Next to that is only God, it says. And everything in the world is, this happiness is permeating all the world created by God, he says. And if you have that happy disposition while eating food, that penetrates into the food you eat, and then it purifies your lower layers and all that. He goes on into metaphysics, which is very useful actually.
A common analogy which is given in this regard is like, out of gold we can create a lot of shapes. We can have bangles, we can have a ring, we can have a statue, or we can have, from outward appearance they all will look different. But essential element in each one of them is gold.
So exactly the mind stuff which you're having, the mind stuff can produce a thought of anger, produce the thought of lust, produce a thought of jealousy, just like the gold becoming a ring or or becoming a bracelet or whatever it is. So pariprasava means the mind stuff dissolves back into the origin from where it has come. It dissolves back into ahankara, and then from ahankara into mahat, and then into purusha finally. So so everything is, every thought ever produced by any person from time immemorial, from when people were thinking, when people came into this universe, and if all those thoughts are combined together, I mean, past 10,000 years ago, Rigveda, Rishis and all those, they must have produced thoughts. And all these so many years, I mean, good people, bad people, whatever thoughts have been arising in now 700 billion people are there in this world now, 7 billion people. So all those people, my thoughts are continuously arising. They are nothing but a combination of these three, sattva, raja and tamaguna, that's all. Once you realize that, then you're a tattva-vid, as Lord Krishna talks in that third chapter in 28, the shloka. Tattva-vid Mahabaho, he says, Mahabaho is Arjuna. Guna guneshu vartante. That is just an interplay of these forces. So it boils down to just interplay of these three forces which creates all these thoughts. That's all about it. So life in that sense, if you achieve that vision, all the mystery dissolves actually, and you are realized. We feel that my thought is different. My thought, I own my thought, I am different from the thought of that person. It's absolutely, if you see from one particular viewpoint, it's ridiculous actually. जो आपके दिमाग से जो thought निकल रहा है, मेरा thought अलग है, nature है बोलो तो, how can you say it's an अलग nature? I mean, you can say the cloud coming in Hyderabad is of a different nature, and a cloud coming in Delhi बोलो तो, I mean, it's a ridiculous idea actually. If you scientifically see, it's composed of the same thing. Anyway, interesting discussion. Just these are all time pass actually.
At the end of the day, we have to meditate on divine life.
Meditate, basically you have to develop love and devotion for God. And basically you should move in the direction of self-surrender. The moment you listen to news and you lose your grip on spirituality, you believe that this India, Pakistan, Modi or Rahul Gandhi, they're all independent. You give attention to them. You are now solidifying the idea of ego actually in yourself, because you believe that multiplicity is real. Actually, they are made up of the same substance. So you have to hold that idea that God is present in everybody. So that means you have to, then only you'll transcend what is called Raga Dvesha. And once you're transcended Raga Dvesha, that means attraction and repulsion, then only the sense of doership, ego goes away. Ego means whenever you come across any experience in your mind, you have a perspective for it. Either you like it or do not like it. So that is, judgment will be there in every thought you perceive when you are interacting with the world. Any perception arises in you, there is a judgment included in that. So every thought is in fact a judgment, and the judgment means ego. So that you have to transcend that. That is only possible if your mind starts getting linked to God in more and more sincere ways and more strongly fashion. Then you know that God is the real thing. Then only you overcome Raga Dvesha. Otherwise, you do 1 hour meditation, you're just wasting your time. Anything else? If not, we'll meet next Sunday.